Hello, welcome to RPG Tips again. I'm really happy to do this video because I'm going back to what I actually started the channel with, product reviews, and especially Mythic reviews. On this video, I'm going to go over the first 8 issues of the Mythic Magazine, which are monthly installments which expand the Mythic system and solo role-playing in general that Tana Pigeon, Mythic's creator, has been releasing on her Patreon. Every issue focuses on 2 aspects of either Mythic or general solo role-playing and tackles them in a very laser-focused and detailed way. I'm honestly amazed every month when it comes out because I really love all of them. And in fact, I'm going to give you my top 5 at the end of the video, but it has been very hard to select them because all of them are brilliant. Every issue has 2 articles, and these are categorized in 4 different categories. The first one being What If, which is just a general discussion of either solo, mythic, or the crafters, or the variations category, which are either new rules or twists on previous rules. Those 2 categories cover the broad majority of the articles, but there have also been one which was called Toolbox in Mythic Magazine 4, which we are going to focus on in a bit, and there was also another one called Interrupt in Mythic Magazine 8. But honestly, for me, that could have been a What If article. Now, to bring you a bit of clarity, and in fact what I had to do when I was preparing for this video, I've prepared this table, which shows for each magazine issue which article in which category we have. And after preparing this table, I observed that there was something quite nice happening there, because I was able to find 4 different groups. There was one group of articles focused just around general solo comments, things that you could use even if you didn't use Mythic. Then there was another group focused around Mythic corrections and improvements, things that you would need to use Mythic in order to find them useful. Then another one focused on single systems, which is probably my favorite one, things that solve one specific task with specific rules. And then there was a subgroup of that one focused around location crafting, which actually didn't just extend over one article, but over a series of them. I've highlighted in colors how the different articles belong to the different groups. And if you're new to the magazines, I think it is important that I highlight which are more accessible than others. For instance, all of the location crafting articles are codependent. You would need to read the first one, which is in Mythic Magazine 2, to understand the basics. But it would be even better if you understood the location crafter from the basic book, the location crafter, which is outside the magazines. So if you're interested in solving the task of creating a location randomly, you should start with the second magazine and then move over the 3rd, the 5th, and the 7th. Contrary to that, if you want to focus on specific tasks like creating dialogue, Mythic Magazine 1, creating mystery adventures, Mythic Magazine 6, or adding backstories to your characters or locations, which would be Mythic Magazine 8. You can just get those specific issues and there will be no problem understanding them. Even though the behavior check from Mythic Magazine 1 is a simplification of the original behavior check in Mythic Variations 2, you honestly don't need to understand the original one to get this one. This is super simple, so it's quite easy to understand. If you're a Mythic user, should you get the ones that cover Mythic related stuff? I wouldn't say it's a necessity. All of them, for instance, Mythic Magazine 1, which covers ambiguous events, they are very good, and they actually patch up or increase the usefulness of the system in some weak spots or improve it in general. But you're not going to be stopped from playing if you don't get them. Don't misunderstand me, they are very good, but they are not taking out roadblocks that would stop you from playing. Whereas Mythic Magazine 8, for instance, creates backstories for your characters, which is something that you wouldn't be able to do neatly with a Mythic system. And for all of you Ironsworn, one-page solo engine, Mune players, whatever, that may be thinking, well, is there anything for me in the Mythic Magazine? Well, yes. Honestly, you could go for almost any magazine except for the ones that focus on Mythic-specific issues, and you would be able to get something useful out of them. And especially the first group, the general solo group, covered in Mythic Magazines 4, 7, and 8. Would be useful for you, because most of them don't talk about Mythic related stuff. Well, maybe Mythic Magazine 7 does talk about some Mythic methods. I think the advice is general enough that even if you don't play Mythic and hate it, you would be able to get something useful out of it. So I hope that this table helps you deciding which magazine issues to get. Of course, I would recommend that you get all of them, but in case you have to decide, I hope that this table helps. And in case you need a bit more of recommendation, I'm going to share with you now which are my top 5 magazine issues. So my number 5 is Mythic Magazine 1, the first one. The reason is, well, the ambiguous event article is actually good, because I always thought that the ambiguous events were some of the weakest part of the random events in Mythic, so patching that up is very good. But for me, the real star there is the behavior check, the simplified one. The original one in Mythic Variations 2 is very good. It's brilliant, actually, but it's a bit complex to use when you're playing, so I usually don't end up using it too much. With this one, though, it's just one table and you don't have to decide too many things, so it's very easy to whip it up at any moment, which helps fleshing out conversations, which are usually one of the weak spots when we play solo. My number 4 issue is Mythic Magazine 8, the last one. And this one, I don't have a favorite in either case, it's just that both articles are very good. The backstories one is extremely simple. In fact, I was surprised at how simple it is, but it just works. And if it's simple, that's good, that's better. And the other one, how to deal with character versus player knowledge, is probably one of the most requested articles, well, not articles, questions in solo role-playing of all time. So it's good that we have Tana's view on that. My number 3 magazine is Mythic Magazine, well, number 3. It also contains one of the most requested questions in solo role-playing, which is how do I play pre-published modules, and it is very good to have also Tana's view here. In fact, if you've seen my interview with her, we now have 3 options on how to do it. Mine, which you can see in a video in my channel, DM Yourself, which is a very popular book, and now hers. And all of them are completely different, so that's very good for the landscape. But that article is not the reason why I selected this one. The reason why I selected it was the random dungeon creation. Or well, random dungeon crawling, which is the name of the article. It is extremely good. It is an expansion of the basic randomized location crafting from Mythic Magazine 2. It adds 3 things compared to the randomized location crafting. A general description of the area, a physical one, a description of the story, which is also interesting when we are playing with a dungeon or with the articles that depend on that one, like woods or starship, and a description of connectors, which is something that was missing from the randomized location crafting and from the location crafter, the original one. And now moving to number 2, my number 2 Mythic Magazine is, well, also Mythic Magazine number 2. And the main reason is because it contains 2 things that I love. First, it patches up altered scenes, which are one also of the, I don't want to say weakest, but least flavorful things of Mythic. When you are checking for the chaos factor at the start of a scene to see if it's altered or interrupted. If it's interrupted, we get a random event, and that's very good usually. But if we get an alteration, normally it's just, well, something changed. But yeah, something changed, but what? This article solves that. And for me, the real star of this magazine is the randomized location crafting. I already mentioned that in the previous one, in number 3, but in my opinion, this one is huge, because the location crafter, the original book, is very good. But again, it demanded us to work before we were actually exploring the location. It forced us to think, well, what could I find on this location? With the randomized one, we don't have to think about that. We just play and the location is generated on the fly. It's sort of like the generic version of Ironsworn's Delph's themes and dungeons. But whereas with Ironsworn Delph, we could only use them with those themes and in that setting, with the randomized location crafting, and especially with all of the dependent articles on that one, we can generate almost any location. And now, before getting to my favorite Mythic Magazine issue, I need to highlight one which I didn't select, but because I'm not the intended audience. But if you're a newbie, if you don't know exactly what this solo role-playing thing is about, apart from getting the original Mythic Game Master emulator, you should get Mythic Magazine number 4, because both articles are for you, basically. It contains 2 things that are crucial for a new player. The first one is flowcharts, graphical representations of how you need to play using Mythic and the crafters and all the different checks. It is brilliant. But the other one is also very good, which is how to start role-playing, how to prepare yourself, how to prepare your environment and your mind in order to start playing, which is something that's usually a huge roadblock for people. If you've seen my interview with Tana, normally getting the first scene rolling is the hardest one. Once you start that, threads are going to start appearing, quests, NPCs, the world is going to just bloom, but you need that first scene. So if you're a newbie, Mythic Magazine 4 is the one you should get. And lastly, we get to my favorite Mythic Magazine issue up to now, and it is Mythic Magazine number 6. This may come as a surprise, but honestly, I was blown away by the generating mystery adventure system. The other article is also very good, don't get me wrong, how to learn a new RPG using Mythic. In fact, I think that one opens the door to just allowing ourselves to use the fate check as more than just a straight yes-no oracle. Using it not just to get descriptions about the world, but also to shape our overall RPG experience. But for me, the real star is the mystery adventure system. It is so elegant, so simple, and so powerful that I was just blown away when I read it. And in fact, when I was grading the different issues to know which one was my favorite one, I was giving each article a number from 0 to 5. And this one was the only one that got a 6 out of 5, because it is honestly brilliant. If you're interested in doing investigations, if you're solo games, at any point, you should read it. It is amazing. So as you may have guessed, I tend to favor specific systems over discussions of the hobby, probably because those discussions are also present in the Discord server of Mythic, which you should join if you haven't. So for me, getting those individual nuggets of little systems that we can use with anything. I mean, you don't have to use Mythic to use the location crafter or to use the new investigation mechanics. And I think they really highlight the genius of Tana. I must emphasize this. If you think these are good, well, I love it. You should just support Tana on Patreon, because you'll get the issues for free, and basically all the money you'll be paying will go to her. Now just as a bit of random information, because I know that people will be interested in this, you'll be able to get the Mythic magazines as print on demand at some moment. And also, Tana has expressed that she's going to bundle them when she releases the first 12 ones, so we're 4 left. So you can get just a single book with all the Mythic magazines, which I think is what I will do probably. But in case you were waiting for print on demand, yes, you're getting it. And that's all for this video. As you may have seen, this was just more of an organizational helping video instead of getting into explaining different mechanics. If you're actually interested in learning some of the mechanics, you can drop by the Discord server. You can find a link in the description, and I'll be super happy to help you understanding any of the articles. I mean, me or even Tana, the creator, is also on the server, but right now we are more than 800 people, so most of them are really eager to help. So don't hesitate in dropping by if you want to get any help or just discuss your solo games. Regarding the channel, RPG Tips itself, I'm thinking about expanding my mediums to start blogging, because producing these videos usually takes a while, and honestly, lately I don't have that much time available. So I'm thinking about it. If it is something that you would like or that you wouldn't like, please say it in the comments, because it will help me know what my audience wants. Because in the end, I mean, I'm just here to share my random thoughts about solo role playing, so I want them to reach you. And also, if you've bought any of the Mythic magazines, I want to know your opinions about them. Which ones have you used? Which one's your favorite? Which systems did you like? Which ones did you dislike? What are you expecting from future magazines? Anything. And with that, I say goodbye for now. Thank you for spending your time with me. I hope you, well, not had fun, because this wasn't much fun, but at least I hope you learned something. And I hope to see you again in the next video, maybe with Vesna. Bye bye.